baseball before we talk about that sport that's played on a frozen area. Baseball. Aaron Nola gets named the opening day starter. It's the fourth straight year he's going to be the opening day starter for the Phillies. He's the first Phillies pitcher to do that since Steve Carlton, in case you haven't heard that yet. If you would have told somebody in the mid-'80s, I was like 4 years old, so I don't think I would have cared. However, in the mid-'80s, if you would have told somebody that the Phillies would go 30-plus years without having an opening day starter 4 years in a row, I think you would have said that person's crazy. Yeah, at some point they're going to get it right? Like they'll even trade for a guy that could do it. Like I think about the history and go back to it, and I think about you had the four aces for one season, really. You had Roy Halladay here. That didn't last as long as we would have liked it to have lasted. You had other guys here like Cole Hamels throughout that time. Cliff Lee's another name, but Cole Hamels is the homegrown guy. You would have expected to be able to do that. But even in his time here, Roy Halladay took over as an opening day starter. So it's just a wild little part of history that you don't think about too much. And then it comes to light. Oh, wow. Since Steve Carlton, they haven't had a guy start four straight opening day games. And as Aaron Nola even kind of chuckled at yesterday, it's against the Braves, which it always seems to be against the Braves. But nonetheless, here's Aaron Nola yesterday after a dominant spring training start. This is where you can start to take those numbers a little bit more seriously in terms of getting a couple of weeks of working on these pitches under your belt. You were obviously working on them during the offseason. And Aaron Nola trying to add a cutter to his arsenal as a starting pitcher. So here's Nola yesterday on Getting the News on the Phillies website that he is going to be the Phillies opening day starter for the fourth straight year.
It's a cool honor, man. It's cool to be named that again and start the year off first game. But, my thoughts are always that obviously I'm honored to get the nod, but you got a lot of starts after that. So, I just hope to put the team in a good chance to win on opening day. And I'm looking forward to my next outing.
Sometimes I think Aaron Nola should have been a hockey player, just based on the way he answers questions. Hey, your first pitch is Steve Carlton knew this. That's pretty cool, man. Like, it's just a weird thing with Aaron Nola. Always that even temper. And, hey, you want that on the bump. You want that on the hill. When he's on the hill, you want that kind of temperament at all times. But that's the way he is. Also, I'm convinced, and I used to have this argument with Taryn Hatcher of NBC Sports Philadelphia. I used to have this argument whether or not Aaron Nola had a mullet. I'm pretty sure it was a mullet. And now it's gone. So maybe, I don't know, maybe that's the key to success in the spring. But anyway, 6 innings pitched yesterday against the Yankees. Made some guys look silly using every one of his pitches, and he also had 9 strikeouts through his 6 innings. Joe Girardi names him the opening day starter. Joe Girardi rather impressed yesterday with the way that his opening day starter pitched.
He was as good as he's been. That's as good as I've seen him. He was dominant. He had command on both sides of the plate with his fastball. His breaking ball was outstanding. He threw changeups that were really good. I mean, he was in total control the whole night. And, this was probably his longest outing of the spring that he will have, and that was great to see.
You look silly! Silly! Every one of you Yankees look silly on the 9 strikeouts from Aaron Nola yesterday. And imagine being that good. Imagine being a guy who finished, third in the Cy Young voting 2 years ago. Imagine being that good and then saying, let me just add this one just to scramble the brains of hitters as they're trying to figure out what pitch is coming next. Silly. Guys looking silly yesterday against the Yankees. And now's the time, especially because opening day is next week, by the way. Now's the time where I start to get a little nerdy, start to get a little giddy. And but don't get me wrong, I'm usually nerdy. I'm usually a dork, whatever. But when it comes to opening day, I just think back to my childhood and the childhood post 80s. When I remember things. But anyway, I'm just excited for it. It's next week, so we could start to get a little amped for that, especially with the lineup. Rhys Hoskins, by the way, from the dish yesterday. Rhys Hoskins is able to come up with 3 hits for you as well as an RBI. So good hustle to Rhys Hoskins. Here we go. Phillies talked about. Next up, Flyers. Usually, after a Flyers loss, maybe the fact that they've lost, 7 out of 10 now? Usually after a Flyers loss, I'm rather upset. I'm angry. I'm not a pleasant person to deal with. However, yesterday, I didn't feel like it was an effort thing. And I know a lot of people, when it comes to the Flyers, always want to jump down their throats for effort. And I've certainly done that. Last night is not when you can take that very generic label and very generic complaint and throw it at a loss. Last night, they just weren't good enough. Was it Sorokin? He couldn't beat him. And they peppered him with shots. And I don't like going by the shots on goal as, oh, well, they had a lot of shots on goal, so therefore they hustled. No, it's not that. You could see it. You had to watch the game and really understand how they were charging the net. They were putting pucks on net. Certainly, this is a rare occasion where you go, oh, wow, yeah, they were throwing everything at them. And they were getting good opportunities, too. It wasn't just rinky-dink stat fillers, more or less. It was actually attacking the crease and trying to be aggressive. You saw that from the early goings of this game. Throughout the first period, they were peppering them. Throughout the first period, you saw guys up and down the ice the entire time. You saw guys covering a lot of ice. And that was great to see from the Flyers team. You needed to see that type of effort for. If they play like that, they're going to get a lot more wins in the not-too-distant future. So let's go ahead and see that effort night in and night out. Let's see them win a little bit more battles, a few more battles along the boards. Let's see them win a couple more battles around the crease as well and be able to keep that goalie guessing as to where the next shot's coming from. You saw early in the game, Nolan Patrick had a great opportunity, thought he was going to bury home. Couldn't get it as he was streaking across the crease. I want to see all of that. I want to continue to see all that from the Flyers. And if you do that, you will see this team start to turn it around. Last night at least gave me a little bit more hope that they do have something a little bit more to offer this year than the way they've played in the last 2 weeks or so. Really, ever since that Penguin series, and then obviously the Rangers series was terrible. Anytime they play Boston, it's just awful hockey by the Flyers, that is. And then going up against like I said, the Rangers and now the Islanders. It's fun. In hockey, it's like that old phrase, a loss is a loss. Well, except in hockey, where they still just give you a point, but that's been the rules for a long time. But last night, I felt at least you saw that effort. Great centering pass from Claude Giroux to Oscar Lindblom to get that goal off his skate. However you got to get him. And then, again, I don't know. Joel Farabee has been a joy this year to watch. I've really enjoyed watching him play hockey. I don't know what he was doing. Zipping. It was like when he passed that puck to Shane Gostisbehere, I think it was. Maybe Shane's got to corral that. I don't know. But it reminded me of Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris against the Yankees, against the Knicks in New York. Go figure. Where did Shane Gostisbehere take his eyes off the puck? I don't think so. I think Joel Farabee kind of put it behind Shane Gostisbehere. He had to make the adjustment. Ends up being a turnover. The Islanders, Beauvillier, he ends up getting the goal, just sneaking it in past the right skate of Brian Elliott, who was great in net for most of the night. And I don't know what they're supposed to do with that, but that's what ended up giving the Islanders the win and the extra point, and the Flyers just 1 point for the overtime game. So, again, turnovers come back to rear their ugly head. That's one thing they got to clear up. I didn't see it as a continuous problem throughout this game. The effort was there. They were winning puck battles along the boards. Keep playing like that. You'll win a lot more hockey games. It at least gave me, back to what I was getting to earlier, it at least gave me a little bit of hope that Alain Vigneault will find a way to push the right buttons to get this team back on track. But ultimately, it's not going to be Alain Vigneault. Ultimately, yeah, the offense has to pick it up, especially in a game like this, and they haven't been the problem for the vast majority of the season. But I think it's going to go up to the front office, like we were saying yesterday, with Chuck Fletcher and see how he can get it done. Interesting name here in Philadelphia. Came in for a visit. Local kid done good. Audubon, New Jersey, Joe Flacco and the Joe Flacco family. Can't help the Baltimore accent, sorry. Joe Flacco, when it comes to everything that he's done in his career, like win a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl MVP award, I wouldn't mind Joe Flacco being your backup. I wouldn't mind him being here at all. If you want a veteran backup, I'll take a guy that's got a Super Bowl trophy, a Super Bowl MVP. Of course, that also sounds a lot like Nick Foles, which I know would be a feel-good story. And I'm never going to root against Nick Foles coming here to Philadelphia because I don't know what's in – I don't know. Maybe it's what's in the water here. Maybe Nick Foles just plays a lot better whenever he's drinking water as opposed to water anywhere else in the country. I wouldn't mind Nick Foles here. But yesterday, Joe Flacco visited. We'll see how that works out. Apparently, he's going to go on the free agency tour, and we'll see what happens with Joe Flacco coming to Philly. I wouldn't mind it. I know a lot of people, for whatever reason, they're just out on Joe Flacco. I don't know why. And it's not because I'm looking at him. I mean, as a backup quarterback, would you be out on Joe Flacco? Because right now it seems to all be about Jalen Hurts. And if they take Jalen Hurts, or excuse me, if they bring in Joe Flacco with Jalen Hurts as your starter, I think it's a fine backup quarterback. And we know how important, of all places, we know how important that could be right here in Philadelphia. So we'll see if the local kid comes on home and actually plays for his hometown team. I think his brother has or had a mattress store down the Jersey Shore. So I don't know, a little fun fact about the Flacco family. I also, coming up in our morning rush, we have a fun little Charles Barkley story to get into. We'll talk a little bit more about our brackets. We'll get into that conversation. And the 76ers return to action tonight in Golden State. I would hope that the Sixers, after the way they after the way they were able to get this win against the Knicks, I would hope they have a lot left in the tank going out there for a real late tip-off tonight, as you would assume, on the West Coast, going up against Golden State Warriors. I don't know what to get from this Sixers team on their first game on a West Coast trip here. I'm staying away from this game. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the big bet segment. But I don't know what to expect from this team. I feel like they're going to have a clunker in the not too. I feel like they're going to have a game that they won't survive. Like yesterday, we were talking about how these are the types of games that the Sixers from a year ago would lose. Well, this team, they're finding a way to win these games. Those are tight games. Those are close games. I feel like that there's a game right around the corner where they're going to look like a team who is not playing with their best player in Joel Embiid. And then we're going to be pining for Joel Embiid to come back. Not that we aren't already, but even more so, we're going to be pining for him to come back. I just have a bad feeling about this game tonight with the Sixers, but it's one game. It's one game. Not going to lose my mind over it. I just feel like in the not-too-distant future, they have one of those clunkers that we all go, okay, well, Joe's not playing, so we'll move on from there. And also, the trade deadline is right around the corner, and apparently the Kyle Lowry sweepstakes are still heating up. The Heat are still very much in on the deal. Zach Lowe's talking about how the Sixers are still very much in on the deal, and they want to get that. They want to make that happen. So it comes down to what you're comfortable parting with. If it comes down to Kyle Lowry, keep in mind expiring contract, but if it comes down to Kyle Lowry, Matisse Thybulle, Tyrese Maxey, it comes down to Seth Curry, Danny Green, picks, what are you willing to give up? And I always feel like when we anticipate these deals, in our minds, we're thinking, oh, no way they get Kyle Lowry without getting rid of Matisse Thybulle or getting rid of Tyrese Maxey, or they don't. They have to give away a starter, right? Because he's got to be a starter if he's coming here to Philadelphia. Kyle Lowry does. I don't want the Sixers to have to part ways with Tyrese Maxey or Matisse Thybulle. I don't want them to have to part with a starter right now or a first-round pick. But I'll tell you, of all that, I think it's going to take probably 2 first-round picks in order to get Kyle Lowry here to Philadelphia. It might take Danny Green. I don't think Daryl Morey wants to part with either Thybulle or Tyrese Maxey when it comes to trying to get Kyle Lowry. I think they love both those two players, and what they would rather do, because in Danny Green's situation, what they love about Danny Green is his leadership. He's a winner. I mean, all the things Keith Pompey told us yesterday. Well, Kyle Lowry's that dude too. Kyle Lowry's a very similar type of player and can also create his own shot. So I don't mind if they have to change their starting lineup with one player. If you could add Kyle Lowry and it takes you Danny Green and maybe a first-round pick, let's get it done. That's under the assumption that we're all thinking it's going to cost way too much to get him right now. But I think the Raptors understand that we're in Philadelphia, wherever he goes, they're getting a rental player for right now, a 34-year-old guard rental player, and we'll see how that develops. I don't think the Sixers want to deal with bodies as much as they want to deal with picks. I am all about giving up picks at this point. And it's weird to say that, especially when you say that, you're saying, oh, well, what are you going to get with the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th pick, whatever it might be, even though it might be even later, 28th pick, I hope, in the NBA draft. Well, the guys that you're talking about holding on to are exactly those guys. They're late first-round picks in Tyrese Maxey and Matisse Thybulle. So I don't want to part with those guys, but I'd rather go ahead and part with the unknown as opposed to parting with what you know you have right now. And I'll say this, I was thinking about this during the Knicks game, and I've always really respected Matisse Thybulle's defensive game, as most people do, because you watch the Sixers, you know he's a great defender. I don't know if I have seen a more deceptive young player than I have seen in Matisse Thybulle. The way he baits players into thinking that their pass is going to be safe, and that passing lane is totally safe from Matisse Thybulle reaching his hand in there to try to poke it free or even steal it. But he does it every single night, where he will guard his man close, just close enough to make you think there's an open passing lane. And then the next thing you know, the offensive player goes to make that pass. Boom, Matisse Thybulle's right there to make the interception. And he's there to force the turnover. He's there to have it go the other way to get you 2 points. Kick out for a 3 like he had with Furkan Korkmaz a couple of nights ago. It's amazing how he does it. And he literally is there baiting, waiting for somebody to make that mistake, thinking he's too far away to try to disrupt that pass. And he makes it happen. Also, a little way he's able to poke that ball free when he's on his man. It's great. I don't want to lose that, especially I don't want to lose that as a guy coming off the bench. I don't want to lose that as a guy that might be developing himself even more of a 3 type of player when it comes to the 3 and D. D will always be dominant with Matisse Thybulle, but seeing that 3 portion of it come along is great. And the fact that he's also becoming a little bit more aggressive and going to the basket to get himself some points around the rim is great as well. So I'd hate to part with it, but ultimately I think if you're going to get Kyle Lowry, I think it might cost you a starter and a first-round pick. I don't think it's going to be some blockbuster trade where people or the Heat or the Sixers are looking at it and saying, man, how do we – wow, that's a haul for Kyle Lowry. I don't think that's the way it's going to go down. But right now I think the Raptors are doing exactly what they should be doing, which is waiting, holding it out to see who jumps up to take him before the NBA trade deadline Thursday at 3 p.m. Coming up, we got Hugh Douglas joining the show. We got our big bet segment to end the program. In between there, we got our social media check-in. I'll check into some of your comments from YouTube, and I'll also make sure I give you guys the morning rush. Fun little story about Charles Barkley, and we also got to talk about your bracket, because mine's already been lit on fire. We'll talk to Hugh Douglas about that as well. So I do want to tell you a little bit about my friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers here at the Steven Singer Studios. I did send my friend Robert over there. I told you last week he had a great experience, texted me when he was walking out of the store saying how wonderful an experience it was at Steven Singer Jewelers. Wanted to buy a wedding band, so we went in there and did that. Well, if you want to get in on what everybody knows about already, it seems like Steven Singer Jewelers is the place to go for diamonds, for jewelry, for everything. And most importantly, at the other corner of 8th and Walnut and at IHateStevenSinger.com, the perfect price. Here's a little insider tip from Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Other people, they want you to negotiate. They want you to go in there and they want you to, basically, they mark up the price of the jewelry. They mark up the price of the diamond. And you go in there and you're like, how about this price? And they're like, well, no. And then they make you feel like you won something when they mark it down a couple of $100. At Steven Singer, forget that. Just worry about what you want. Worry about what you want to buy for that special someone in your life. So if that's a diamond necklace, if it's a diamond earrings, diamond bracelet, whatever it might be, Steven Singer already has it set at the perfect price. So all you have to do is worry about what you like. You don't have to go in there worrying about your negotiating skills. Look at the guy next to you saying, is that guy paying less than me? I don't want to get had here. Nobody's getting had. All right. Perfect price every time. Real jewelry expert walks you through everything. That's the guarantee at Steven Singer Jewelers. Go to the other corner at 8th and Walnut or go to IHateStevenSinger.com. Steven Singer Jewelers, one place and the perfect price at Steven Singer Jewelers. All right, let's get to our friend on the Zatos Investments guest line. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him, you love him. Our good friend, let's get to Hugh Lamont Douglas III. Here on the Zatos Investments guest line, our friend Hugh Lamont Douglas III. Happy Hugh's Day, brother.
Hello there. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Let's just jump right into this part of it. You asked me this already when we spoke off the air. How's your bracket doing?
My bracket's exploded. Well, you know what? To be totally honest, I didn't fill out a bracket, and if I did, it would probably be busted right now. It would really be busted because I was thinking about going chalk. And you know, when the Florida Gators lost, that really probably would have put my bracket in disarray. I think Alabama. I think I had Alabama too. I'm not sure. Well, I didn't have anybody. But I'm just saying, in my mind, I probably would have picked Alabama because it was between Florida and Alabama in that region. I think Michigan was in that region too. So it was. I was feeling Alabama a little bit. So but anyway, it would have been blown up. It don't matter.
I do like the idea of you having the bracket in your mind. Yeah. It's in my mind.
No, because it's like, think about it like this, Farzetta. The fun part about doing brackets is doing them at work. Like doing them in the office, doing them at the studio, doing them with other people, and everybody's talking about it. Hell, I'm at home all day. Like I'm just chilling. You know what I mean? I mean, we're not in the studio, so
right.
I don't have a printer. And, you know, I didn't feel like doing it on the computer, so
No, I get that. The whole reason to do it is to, be able to talk some smack amongst your friends and your coworkers, and they can't even do that.
Yeah, so it's like,
No, that's a fine point. Illinois screwed me over. I had them winning the whole thing, but the hell. Yeah, I'm an idiot, and I don't know college basketball anyway.
The team is on a roll. And, down here, that was Georgia Tech's first game. And so they played them tough, but it doesn't feel so bad now, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because, they're rolling right now.
All right. Now,
and Cameron Crutwick, he's pretty good.
Crutwick, yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, no, he's pretty good. And that mustache, not so good, but I appreciate the effort.
Looks like a fireman. Somebody looks like a fireman in a pickup league. But he got good feet. The big fella got good feet, though.
We showed the GIF, or not the GIF, we showed the meme yesterday on the show of him looking like Rod Favre, I forget his Favre, from Super Troopers.
I know. Okay, the big guy, the husky guy. Yeah. I definitely know what you're talking about. Yeah.
A little bit of a resemblance. Now, you just mentioned down there. When down there, for people that don't know, in case they haven't seen it yet, down there is Atlanta, where you are. You work for 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. You do morning radio down there. And, we've been talking a lot about the draft already, and we're more than a month away from the NFL draft.
Yeah.
But everyone here, what's that, brother?
I said it's in Cleveland.
It's in Cleveland.
Draft is in Cleveland.
Yeah, hey, where people like to party.
Yeah.
So what I want to know is, we're all looking at number 6 overall, and we're wondering what the Eagles are going to do. Are they going to trade back? Are they going to take Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, Waddle, whoever's there on the board? Who's the guy they're going to take there at number 6? But in order for them to know who's available at number 6, they're going to have to know who's taken in front of them. The Atlanta Falcons, your market right now, is picking at number 4. So maybe we could cover one of these spots right now. Hugh Lamont Douglas III, if you had to say where the Atlanta Falcons are going to go at number 4 overall, they would select who with the 4th overall pick in the 2021 NFL draft?
I have no clue. They are playing it close to the vest. I feel like they should get a quarterback. I think that's the position they should get. Because think about it like this, Farzetta. New coach comes in most of the time. Coach wants his guy at quarterback. Andy Reid did it twice. He did it in Kansas City. He did it in Philadelphia. So I'm kind of going on that model. When you talk about new coaches coming, you talk about the coach the Carolinas head coach, Matt Rule.
Mm-hmm.
When he came in, he went and got Teddy Bridgewater. Now they're talking about getting another quarterback. So they want their guy. So that's kind of like the trend of new head coaches when they come in. They want to get their guy. So I'm kind of thinking that's the case. Matt Ryan has had a hell of a career as a quarterback. Probably is going to play 2-3 more years. So my mindset and my thought is, why not draft the quarterback now? Let him sit for a couple of years and then groom him and usher him into that position when Matt Ryan is finally gone. I mean, I think that's the smartest thing to do, because now you don't put that much pressure on that young quarterback to come in and start right away. And if, sometimes when they start right away, we've seen it. They don't really do that well. They benefit tremendously from sitting on the bench, sitting behind somebody, and just learning for a couple of years. So I think that they should do that. But as far as who they're going to draft, I keep hearing all kinds of different names. And one of the names that came today was Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Florida Gators. Ran like a 4.4 in the 40.
4.4 640, yeah.
Yeah, now, he's a big guy, had a chance to see him play. I mean, he's a phenomenal player. But at 4, when this team needs so many other things, and then you're talking about the face of your franchise for the next 10 to 15 years, I don't think that's what they should go. But like I said, they're playing it real close to the vest.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you're right. And I think to highlight the Andy Reid comparison is a good one. And I think a lot of coaches want to do that, have their guy at quarterback. So, I think most people would agree with you in terms of what you would like to see the Falcons do, take a quarterback at that spot, groom him, give him time to learn the league and all that, and your coach would now have his guy. So I think you're right in that instinct. I just don't want anyone to take Kyle Pitts, because you mentioned not only Florida, but also Archbishop Wood High School locally here, Warminster. Again, my audience knows this, where I went to high school. But he is a freak. He is a big body guy who can run, and he's versatile. And when people talk about Jamar Chase possibly still being available and Kyle Pitts possibly still being available, if it's a toss-up between the two, and somebody asked me this, they said, who would you rather have? If both are available, who are you taking? I'm taking Kyle Pitts, because I think they're both freaks. I think they're both going to have a huge impact. So after that, I default to scheme. And I think Nick Sirianni is going to move or going to use more of a 12 personnel, use more of a 2 tight end set. Where you're going to have Kyle Pitts and also Dallas Goedert. And I think that'll benefit this team tremendously.
Yeah, I mean, because when you think about it, and it's funny because when we were talking about it the other day on the show, the guy that we were talking about mentioned that. He said Kyle Pitts would benefit tremendously from being on a team like Philadelphia that features the tight end. Tight end gets a lot of work. You know, you talk about Chad Lewis when he was there. Talk about Zach Ertz. You know what I mean? So the tight end in Philadelphia, Brent Selleck, talking about tight end in Philadelphia gets a lot of love. So I could definitely see that being the case, and they would love him in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and Sirianni is coming from Frank Reich's school of offense where 12 personnel is just seems to be in on every single play. So I think that's the direction they would go if both were available, and I'd be just fine with that. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be pissed if Jamar Chase ends up in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform, but I think if you're asking me which one would be the better fit, I would go with the tight end.
Yeah, and plus you need some offensive weapons. You definitely need some offensive weapons because you got a young quarterback, and the more you can put around him, strong running game, big offensive line, some pass-catching weapons, it's going to make his job so much easier, and it's going to be so much more easy to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking with Hugh Douglas, 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. Hugh, we've talked a lot recently about Jeffrey Lurie and meddling in football operations and Howie Roseman's influence on the front office as well and his draft picks. We've also talked a lot about Nick Sirianni. Well, the two of them late last week addressed the media, and I was hoping as a former player and NFL analyst now, I was wondering if you could help, read into these a little bit and just give me your impression of both Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni. Do you mind if I play a couple of clips for you?
Not at all. Play those beautiful clips.
All right. Who would you like to hear from first, Howie or Nick Sirianni?
Let me hear from Howie. Haven't heard Howie's voice in a while. Let's get Howie for 200. 200.
It does have a game show type of feel. And for 200. So, all right, here's Howie Roseman. He was asked by, I believe it was Jeff McClain at the press conference last week about drafting a quarterback and whether or not Jeffrey Lurie has given an instruction to Howie Roseman and the rest of the Philadelphia Eagles front office to build around Jalen Hurts, as reported by Chris Mortensen of ESPN. So here is Howie Roseman on those two things. Take a listen and tell me how it makes you feel.
We only have one quarterback on our roster, so it's definitely not going to stay that way. And we've always tried to value that position and to have depth at that position. And I don't see any of that changing here as we go forward. That's nothing that we would be comfortable with. We want to have a really strong quarterback room. We feel like we have incredible coaches on the offensive side of the ball and defensive side of the ball who can maximize quarterback play. And so we're going to look at the free agent market. We're going to look at the trade market, and we're certainly going to look at the draft to try to strengthen that position.
Hey, and can you comment on the ESPN report?
We have not been told to do anything other than to try to strengthen the football team and make sure that we're doing the right things now and going forward.
So that was Howie Roseman late last week on the quarterback position. Okay, let's just get the first thing out of the way that I think is obvious. Maybe you don't. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But the Eagles do only have one guy on the roster right now. So I think they are going to draft someone. I just don't think they take someone at number 6.
I don't think so either. I think that they probably go out and get some veteran quarterbacks, somebody that can run the offense, somebody that they're comfortable with. Now, as far as one of the younger players in the draft, don't really know. Don't really know if that's going to be the case. Don't know if that's going to be the case because now I would think that if you draft a young quarterback, say if you draft in the 3rd or 4th round, number one, Eagle fans are going to be looking at you like, what the deuce? Because that's around the same time that you took Jalen Hurts, and they're going to be asking what the deuce, and you're going to have another quarterback controversy. So I think it has to be somebody in here that's a veteran kind of guy. Mm-hmm. That is definitely a veteran kind of guy. So you don't want to bring in a guy that's going to challenge the young quarterback for his job. If that's the guy that you want, and I think that's the guy that they want to be the quarterback.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The second part of that was he was asked to confirm or deny the report from Chris Mortensen on whether or not Jeffrey Lurie has told the front office to build around Jalen Hurts. Howie went the route of, you've heard of coach speak? This was GM speak. This was just make sure you say everything properly here.
But you have you have to, Mark, because that's the same thing down here. When you talk to GMs and they're talking about potential draft plans, especially when you're talking about going high. You don't want anybody to know what you're going to do. That's why it's all over the board when you talk about drafting quarterbacks. That's why nobody's really saying a whole lot. We know for a fact, number one pick, Trevor Lawrence. We know that. Everything after that, who knows? Who knows? You hear about different quarterbacks working out and all this other stuff. You don't know who's going to be taken because teams are playing that close to the vest. And we as analysts, we're trying to follow all these carousel of quarterbacks moving around and everything like that. And we're trying to just glean a little bit of anything. But when it comes to drafting, a lot of teams, they like to play it close to the vest, and you don't know who they're going to take. And the funny thing about it is the teams that are drafting after them, they don't know what they're going to do either. Because anybody can fall in anybody's lap, or somebody can get panicked because they think the guy that they want's not going to be there, and things like that. Remember that year Mitchell Trubisky got drafted?
Yeah.
Players moved up in the draft to draft Mitchell Trubisky. Now Mitchell Trubisky is packing his bags and he's on his way. I mean, and that's just the quarterback room.
Mm-hmm. He's now a backup in Buffalo now.
Buffalo backup.
Unbelievable. And you're exactly right. The other thing I wanted to play for you here is Nick Sirianni. And Nick Sirianni was asked kind of what he likes, what he looks for in a player, and really what he is drawn to in a player. And he starts listing things that the characteristics he likes about a player that he might be bringing in. Here's Nick Sirianni. This will be Nick Sirianni for 200. Nick Sirianni for 200 on characteristics he likes a player to have.
As far as the character of the player, right, we're always looking for these things in a player. We're always looking for tough players. We're always looking for high football IQ players. We're always looking for players that are competitive, right? And we're always looking for players that love ball. Like, in my experience, like those four things, like when you find players that have those four things, like those are the guys you can't go to a game without. Like, hey, these guys, the players that have those four things, it just feels like every player that I've been around that I'm like, I can't get on the bus or the plane without him. He has those four qualities, right? Because those guys maximize their potential. So first, obviously, talent is the main thing, right? Let's not, like, I have those four things, but you don't want me suiting up on Sunday. But talent's the first thing, and then the second thing really is the character of that player. Those four things, I like that is something we're looking for each guy.
Hugh Douglas, your thoughts?
I agree.
All right. I'm not going to do the thing that other people do. I'm not going to say this guy can't coach based on a couple wonky press conferences.
I'm not going to say that either.
Okay, good. So what will you say?
Listen, talking's hard. It took me a while to learn how to talk, and sometimes being in front of the camera, a lot of times you get nervous. I mean, I'm not about to judge that man on this press conference because that's just too easy.
Right.
That's just too easy. I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to wait until the season starts.
Okay.
The season starts. I don't have anything to say about him. He seems like a guy that has, you know what, Mark, because I do this a lot of times too. I talk in stream of conscience. You know, I have one thing I want to say, and then I switches, and sometimes I have to slow down. And maybe he's that same kind of person. Maybe he's the person that, like, he has a bunch of thoughts running around in his head, and it's hard to, like, focus on one thing at one time, and it kind of gets all over the place. It happens to me all the time. So that might be the case. I don't want to sit here and be the typical individual that looks at him and says, wow, I don't feel comfortable with him coaching because he doesn't do a great press conference.
Mm-hmm. And I'm with you.
Yeah. So I'm not going to do that. But I will say this as a former player, if I don't really have a relationship with Coach, and that's my first time or my second time hearing him talk, I have some concerns. Now, I'm going into that, and I'm going to have these concerns, and he's going to have to do his damnedest to put my mind at ease when we get out there on the football field and we start putting stuff together. I mean, I will say that. I mean,
it's not unlike the story you told us before about Andy Reid telling you to quit your bitching.
Yeah, basically. I mean, when Coach Reid came in, you saw he talked real slow. He was deliberate, and I think part of that is that he didn't want to mess up, and he didn't want to get his words. He doesn't want his words to be misconstrued. I think a part of that has to do with it. When you listen to coaches talk, a lot of times they talk really slow, and they're very, very careful in the words that they choose. And I think with Coach Sirianni, this is his first head coaching job. He's a little bit excited. He's going to learn as he goes. So all jokes aside, I'm not going to judge him from his press conference, but I'm pretty sure that as the season progresses, he will get better because he has to. Because I can tell you one thing that I know about Philly: if losing goes along with those press conferences, boy, there's going to be a field day. They're going to be killing him.
In all honesty, Hugh, that's almost a worry of mine. Like, I don't want this guy to be a bad head coach. I don't want the Eagles to be a bad football team. But it does make me concerned. What if, and look, Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl, and we still destroyed him when it came to press conferences, especially this past year. He seemed to not have an answer for anything. If this guy is bad out of the gate and the team struggles playing football, what matters most, actually playing football, and then he can't explain himself after the game, oh, man, light a fire. Light a fire.
I have to think back. What did Chip Kelly's interview sound like? I mean,
very confident.
Okay, because I can't remember though. Because everything, to be honest, Farzetta, everything I'm comparing everything to Andy Reid because that's my guy. That's who I remember. That's who was the calming voice, even though he irritated the hell out of the media when he didn't answer questions. Mm-hmm. He always was concise. He said what he said and he kept it moving. There was no stutter, none of that. He just talked and kept it moving. It's one of those things where, as Eagle fans, no football is being played right now. We have no clue about the quarterback position. We don't know what's going to happen there. We don't have any clue about what's going to happen in the draft. And we're just trying to hold on to something. And it's easy to sit there and pick apart what he's saying because he's not giving you anything that makes you feel comfortable.
Sure.
When he's saying stuff where he's kind of jumbling his words and everything, it just makes you a little uncomfortable. But I'm not going to judge him on the things that he said or what he didn't say. So I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt and wait to see if he can coach.
Me too. I am as well, but that doesn't mean I won't look at a press conference from time to time and go, what?
The part about it is we have to. This is the one time, which I don't really do a whole lot of, where I have to rise, above the petty and just get a man the benefit of the doubt,
I'm with you. Yeah. Last thing for you, my friend. Carson Wentz goes out and does an interview with the Pat McAfee show. And on that show, he talked about being a kid from North Dakota and coming to Philadelphia. And he highlighted a lot of the things that I just think are true. Some people are taking exception to this. I've traveled. I've been around the country. So have you. We're a different animal. We're a completely different animal. So a lot of the Northeast corridor, United States, Boston, New York, we're a crazy place. But he said it was just different. And some people are holding that against him. And I don't know how you can't acknowledge that we are different. You're a kid from Ohio. I know you had a welcome to the NFL moment. Did you have a welcome to New York or welcome to Philadelphia moment when you realized you weren't in Ohio anymore?
Let me tell you, and let me say this to all your fans out there that listen to the Marc Farzetta show. Philadelphia is different. That's what makes it so great. Don't be so sensitive about being different. That's what most people from Philadelphia like about being a Philadelphian, is that you're different. I know for you it's kind of hard to separate it because it's Carson Wentz and he left. He didn't want to be there. You heard all this other stuff. And when he says it, you're feeling some kind of way. Stop reading into it, man. We didn't read into stuff that's been said. We do this all the time as fans. We just read into everything. Just let it be. It is different. I'll say, and you know how I feel about Philadelphia. It's different.
Yeah, you love Philly.
It is, but it's different. It's different, and it's like no other place. Just like Atlanta is different. Atlanta and Philadelphia, they're two different cities, but they both love football, but they love it in a different way. Eagles fans are diehard fans that had season tickets in their family for eons. Falcons fans are fans that like to party. They go to tailgates, and sometimes the party gets so hyped that we stay outside and watch the game outside. They don't really go in. It's just different. It's just it really is. But it's still a great city. Still a great city. So don't take it personal. Don't take it personal.
And I certainly don't. Do you have a moment though where you're like, wow, Philly's different? Like, when did you realize Philly was different?
A lot of times that I really can't mention on the air. Shout out to the Philadelphia Police Department because, they looked out for me a few times for doing some things that, we'll just leave it right there.
Well, aren't you an honorary cop or something?
I'm oversharing. I'm oversharing.
Do you still have a badge? I thought at one point you had a badge.
You know what happened? When my car got broken into here in Atlanta. Yeah, go figure. But this is the kicker, Mark. I went into my apartment complex for about 10 minutes, and I got an alert on my phone saying that, hey, your debit card is being used. And I'm like, the hell if it is, my wallet's in my truck. I go out to my truck, my window is smashed. And within 10 minutes of them smashing the window, they were already using the credit card. So
Hugh,
I had my badge. They took my badge and everything.
Oh, they took your badge?
Badge, they took everything, Mark. I was done.
Well, can't stand for it. Hugh Lamont Douglas III. Happy Hugh's Day, my friend. Thank you for joining us as always.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. Hugh Douglas joining us on the Zatos Investments guest line. Share too much? He's sharing too much? I know the man's got stories. But I do remember his badge, and he was proud to have that badge. But how about that shout out to the Philadelphia Police from Hugh Douglas? Thanks as always on this fine Hugh's Day for Hugh joining us there on the program. We got plenty to get to for the rest of the show. We will jump to it absolutely. But let me first tell you about our good friends at FanUp. If you're not fanning up yet, if you're not downloaded the FanUp app in the App Store, then come on, people. What's going on here? Have some fun with FanUp app. Philly fans, if you want to be shot callers and big ballers, download the FanUp app right now. You can win cash. Cash is cool. Cash is king, as a matter of fact. And you can win brand prizes. How about that? They just gave away a Louis Vuitton bag, folks. They just gave away a pair of Jordans. Get in on the action with FanUp. Download the FanUp app. You can squat up with your friends. The days of playing fantasy sports alone are over. So make sure you have a good time with FanUp. Do what all people do right now, and that's use the FanUp app. FanUp, I'm doing it with my friends. It is a great time. You can challenge people to personal contests on there. It's like if you want to have a gentleman's bet, you know what? Let's make it official on FanUp. Score some major points, win some cash, rise on their leaderboard. You can do all that with FanUp and the FanUp app. Any day, any week, any season, you could be the real MVP with FanUp. Download the FanUp app in the App Store. Use promo code FANUP. That's promo code FANUP. Get 2,000 bonus points just for signing up that way. That's FanUp. May the best fan win. How about Zatos Investments and ZatosInvestments.com? Zatos Investments is an up-and-coming luxury real estate development and investment company in the Philadelphia area. They design and develop top-of-the-line custom homes around the city, ranging from small single-family rehabs to ground-up new construction townhomes and condo buildings. Zatos also works closely with their private investor base to provide them with substantial returns on their investment from 20 to 40%. And you probably noticed by now they sponsor our guest line, the Zatos Investments guest line. So you can get those substantial returns on your investment as well. These guys crushing into the Philadelphia real estate game right now. To see their properties and learn more on how you can invest with Zatos Investments, reach out to info@ZatosInvestments.com or simply visit ZatosInvestments.com. Got the holiday coming up, people. I got Easter coming up here. A great place to celebrate Easter with the family. You can check out Steak and Maine in Northeast Maryland. SteakandMaine.com for more information. They got a great brunch going on, for their Easter hours. So make sure you take advantage of that. Whether you dine in a more upscale steakhouse or a casual bar and patio, you'll enjoy the highest quality prime meats, fresh seafood, world-class oyster bar, and freshly prepared sushi. All that and an extensive wine list including their own Cavada Cellars wines. That's right. Tony Cavada, the man that runs the place, phenomenal chef from his family to yours. They got their own cellar of wine, folks, so make sure you indulge when you stop by. Open every day for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Steak in Maine in Northeast Maryland voted #1 place for steaks in America by the Travel Channel and the Cooking Channel. So make sure you check out Steak in Maine and steakinmaine.com. Check it out for yourself. Before we get to our morning rush, we're going to do our social media check-in brought to you by the good people of Steak and Maine and steakinmaine.com. Let's check in right now on social media. Right now, Mally's checking in as you always do, Mally. Love you right back, brother. Thank you so much. Appreciate you following the show. It's T-Bro? I don't know. But it's T-Bro just says, Hugh's Day. Absolutely. Nasty Knuckles. What's up, Nasty Knuckles? Checking in, saying hi. Pete, I'm sorry. But I have to talk about the Flyers. And I know you're not mad at me talking about the Flyers like, oh, don't talk about hockey. I know you're just mad because the Flyers are not playing good hockey. And last night, they actually played well. It didn't result. They didn't play well enough to win. Obviously, they didn't play good enough to win, but they played well. I get it. They're not a good hockey team right now. They've lost 7 of their last 10. One of them in overtime last night. I get it. But if they're the team that played the night before, I gotta at least mention them. I gotta at least bring it up. Let's see what else we got here. Jack, is checking in saying, don't seem too excited, Aaron. Yeah, if you didn't see it earlier, Aaron Nola, he's got the hockey player mentality. I don't know. And I know enough hockey players to know that, like, off microphone, there's some pretty funny dudes. And Jake Voracek, and this is what's so great about the Nasty Knuckles podcast, by the way, just side note here. They get the good stories out of these guys. They get these guys having fun. They loosen these guys up. Jake Voracek has been not exactly the most media-friendly person I've ever seen when he's just like, he's not a very vocal, charismatic type of guy when he's doing a press conference. Get him with the Nasty Knuckles bunch, get him with Nasty, get him with Riley Cote, right? He opens up, as you would assume. He's with his boys, with his buddies. He's going to open up. Aaron Nola has a lot of that same hockey player mentality. Literally, in case you missed it earlier, he was asked about becoming the first opening day starter 4 times in a row since Steve Carlton, and he was like, that's pretty cool. So there's that. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But that was our social media check-in, ladies and gentlemen. Social media check-in brought to you by Steak in Maine and steakinmaine.com. Let's mix it up a little bit. And Morning Rush, let's start with the goofy story. I haven't seen this before, but if you have, I'm sorry, but it's new to me. I feel like there's been a lot of recycled material throughout the pandemic and social media check-in. We did that brought to you by Steak in Maine. This is our Morning Rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars and SkyMotorcars.com. Have you seen this before? Has anyone seen this? I haven't seen this yet. I don't know if this is new. I don't know if this is like 5 years old, but it's new to me. I've never seen it before. Remember, first off, the caption in this, I don't know why I cut that out. I'm sorry, but the caption in it was LeBarn James. I like it. I don't know if that guy's Amish. I don't know what the deal is, but it reminded me of, first off, great system. You're a genius. I don't know if you're an engineer or what your deal is, but good hustle to you. Did you guys have these? If you grew up in the suburbs, you might have had these. And I think I had an aunt or uncle who knew I loved basketball. They bought me one of these. It was like a plastic chute that you would put at the bottom. You would attach it to your rim, and you could shoot foul shots, and the ball would just come right back to you. Probably the dumbest thing ever, but whatever. I had one of those for a brief time, and then I just like, well, wait a minute. What if I'm shooting baseline jumpers and I got to run? No? Okay, whatever. So it was just a weird thing, and it would only attach in the one angle directly out in front. It would only drop the ball off there. It wouldn't, like, you couldn't turn it to face any other direction. Anyway, that's what it reminded me of, but I kind of like this guy's system a little bit more. It's ingenious, as a matter of fact. LeBarn James, hey, it's new to me, so good hustle to you. Rather not start you off, just start you off with that. Get you to some of our scores. Always like to give you some notable NBA scores. Kings 119 against the Cavs last night to 105. Kings beat the Cavs 119 to 105. Rockets 117 to the Raptors 99. You also had the Bucks pounce the Pacers 140 to 133. Drew Holiday in that game, 28 points. As far as your bracket went, well, you must have been clapping erasers because there was a lot of chalk yesterday, ladies and gentlemen. But Oregon did upset Iowa, the 7 seed versus the 2 seed. Oregon 95 to Iowa's 80. Do I have that right? I think I do. And then USC beat Kansas yesterday. USC was the 6 seed versus Kansas, who was the 3 seed. Do want to give you this little tidbit as well. Anthony Harris, we know, signed the deal with the Eagles. He's now a safety for the Eagles, most likely going to start at free safety, take the spot of Jalen Mills, who went to the Patriots. Anthony Harris, safety, 1 year, $5 million. That's the exact same deal Jalen Mills got last year. I'm certainly hoping that the Eagles get more bang for their buck out of Anthony Harris, and I think they will. Also, Adoree Jackson, what the hell, man? I thought you were coming here to Philadelphia to be a cornerback. Apparently, he spurns the Eagles, and he decides to go to the New York Giants. So that's where he chose over Philadelphia. So the Eagles are now down a corner. Not too much fun there. I do want to recap another story that we got to a little bit earlier, and that's the Joe Flacco story possibly coming here to Philadelphia to be the backup quarterback to Jalen Hurts. The more we get to this, and even talking to Hugh Douglas there, I think Hugh is exactly on point. Like, I'm not worried about at least the Falcons taking Kyle Pitts or even taking Jamar Chase. I think the Falcons are going to take a quarterback at number 4 overall. So that's one more quarterback off the board. And it's also more likely then that the Eagles at number 6 will be able to get a weapon for Jalen Hurts. And I've said this, I feel like a million times already. And I feel like I'm going to say it over the next month leading up to the NFL draft even a million more times. But I think the situation the Eagles are in right now, the Chris Mortensen report, is very much true. That they're thinking right now, Jalen Hurts is the guy. And that's that. They're going to operate the next 365 days probably as if Jalen Hurts is the franchise quarterback for not just this year, but for the next 10, 15 years. And that's the way they're going to go about it. Do I think that's what they should be doing? No. I think you probably have some, like, where would Jalen Hurts fit in with these other quarterbacks that are available right now? I mean, I wouldn't, if the Eagles traded up, would I be pissed off? Would most people be pissed off? Because they essentially threw a lot of the Carson Wentz career out the window when they drafted Jalen Hurts as opposed to getting somebody that actually could have helped them. And I know recently Carson Wentz said that had no bearing on it. He trusted the team, yada, yada, whatever. Yeah, how'd that feel when you were sitting on the bench in Green Bay? Because that wasn't going to happen unless they had a younger quarterback out there. That wasn't going to happen. And maybe you're not in that situation if you had somebody else maybe that they drafted to help you a little bit, whether that would be Dobbins, whether that be somebody in the secondary, whoever it might have been. So I don't buy the idea that it didn't bother him because I knew it bothered him, and he did say it bothered him when he was sitting on the sidelines when he did get benched. I don't think that happens if Jalen Hurts is not here in Philadelphia. They don't draft Jalen Hurts. But anyway, I digress. It's going off on a tangent that's a little outdated already. But when it comes to this situation, I would want the Eagles to move up if they think they can get somebody better at quarterback than Jalen Hurts. I just think the Eagles think down the line after the pandemic and everything, I feel like they're going to get a better look at a lot of these draft classes. A lot of the future quarterbacks coming out, I feel like they're going to look at it as we could do better than even what's available in this draft. Why not just see how Jalen Hurts goes? We took him in the 2nd round. It wasn't like we took a flyer on him in the 6th round, for instance. This is a guy that we were confident enough to draft in the 2nd round, was a dynamic college football player, has improved as a pro. Why not surround him with some weapons right out of the gate? You already have a 1st-round pick in Jalen Reagor, who just needs to stay healthy, I think, and he'll be an impactful wide receiver. And then you get him a guy like Kyle Pitts, and we're talking about a much different story when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles and what they could do. And by the way, I didn't mention this yet, and this goes back to the Eagles here, and it goes back to Jalen Hurts, a quarterback, and bringing in a veteran as opposed to a younger guy to back him up in Joe Flacco. But Kyle Pitts yesterday ran a 40, and I believe it was Florida's Pro Day. You got to keep in mind, if you haven't seen it yet on social media, that this is a 6'6", 240-pound man running a 4.46 40. I don't know about you guys, but I'd want to have that in my arsenal, especially with the amount of 12 personnel that I feel like the Eagles are going to be running with Nick Sirianni. And I know he's not showing the playbook just yet. I know he's not giving the goods on what he's going to do, what kind of game plan he's going to have. He's going to wait to see what kind of players, how he gets them more or less. And Lori probably instructs him to get. But I digress. I think it's going to be a matter of seeing a lot of what you saw with Frank Reich, which is 12 personnel. And if that's the case, Kyle Pitts is the guy. I said yesterday, if you have Jamar Chase still on the board, and then you also have, and I said it today earlier, and you also have Jamar Chase and you also have Kyle Pitts, who you taking? Well, they're both freaks, So I'm going to take the guy that I think would be a better fit, a guy that wouldn't have to adjust as much, and that is Kyle Pitts. And also a guy that will probably get more usage in the way I think Nick Sirianni is going to run his offense. So, yeah, I'm going Kyle Pitts. It's close, but I'm going Kyle Pitts if I have to choose between the two. Let's get to our big bets segment brought to you by DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Get in on all the action surrounding the big games that are going on and all the craziness that is the month of March. Yep, there we go. That's how you say that safely. Big bets. I'm back, baby. I never like to bet back-to-back. I don't. And I'm not touching the Sixers game tonight for anybody that's touching the Sixers game. But I did touch the game last night, ladies and gentlemen, and I hit it. So I'm on a roll. 1 in a row for me. 1 in a row. Don't want to brag. 1 in a row. The game I had last night was a game that I gave you earlier with the scores. Kings, Cavs. I'm going to start riding the Cavs again just because I think they're god-awful. A lot of people have started to ride the Rockets because they're god-awful as well. Rockets spanked the Raptors 117-99 last night, so I'm avoiding them. But the Kings last night covered. They went into the game -4.5 going up against the Cavs. They more than covered that with their 119-105 victory. So I won my bet. I'm not going for a streak. I'm going to put pause on that, and I'm going to go to tomorrow where I'll take a look at some other games going on. But tonight, keep this in mind, while the Sixers are playing at 10 o'clock at Golden State playing against the Warriors, the Nets are tipping off at 10 o'clock as well as they're taking on the Portland Trailblazers. By the way, right now, I believe the Bucks are a game and a half behind the Sixers for first place in the Eastern Conference, with the Nets right behind the Sixers by 1 game. So a pretty tightly wrapped Eastern Conference, as one would assume. My thanks to Hugh Lamont Douglas III for joining us on this fine Hughes Day. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow. Special guest, the podcaster. I didn't even know he had a podcast anymore, or did a podcast. Giovanni, the Eagles fan. Giovanni, my family always said Giovanni. Giovanni, I think he goes by Gio. He's going to join the show. We're going to talk some Eagles with him about his experience with Carson Wentz and what it's like to have Lane Johnson stick up for you when somebody's trying to, not being nice, when somebody's not being nice on social media. That's got to be a good feeling. Giovanni, the Eagles fan, will be joining us tomorrow. Look forward to that conversation. The young man is just inspiring, all inspiring. My thanks to Jim Hyden, produced the program. This is a Buzz Sports and Entertainment production. Thanks for watching. Thanks for following along. Make sure you click subscribe on YouTube. Also, we're on Twitch, all social media platforms. Thanks for watching the show today here from the Steven Singer Studios. I'm Marc Farzetta. Have a great day, everybody.